Welcome to the Shulamite Podcast, an extension of Shulamite Ministries and Shulamite.com, with weekly interviews and teaching with author and speaker Martha Kilpatrick and hosted by John Enslow. This weekly podcast is a way to stay connected to the ministry. So come experience anointed messages, not giving just another method, but a living impartation.
The attack lambs, see, I keep thinking it's the lion, and the lion is the one that does warfare, and the lamb is the nature of the Lord. But Mark Geffert went to China. I'll tell you this one story and won't spoil the whole book. There are too many wonderful stories. He went to the border between Korea and China, and the guards said, "What are you doing here?" And they said, "We want to pray for China." And he said, "Would you like to come in through the gates into China?" And they said, "We don't have any papers." And the guard said, "That's okay. I'm going to let you in, but be sure you come back." And as they stood there, Mark Geffert was praying for the prayer, to pray. And this strange prayer came. Tie the python to the tree, which is the word python to me is gives me a horrible picture of what a python is. It's the most gigantic, horrible snake. So they go in and they pray in the front of this village, and they look and see there's a huge 12-foot python tied to a tree. And so they finish praying. They go back to the border, and the guard is glad that they came back. And Mark Geffert says to the guard, Do you tie the pythons to trees here? And the guard said, "I've never heard of such a thing. When we see a python, we kill it to eat it." But what it was God was demonstrating the victory over Satan before they even began to pray. And that's their pattern. The victory of Jesus comes first. Worship comes first. Hearing the prayer of the Holy Spirit. And then you go in, and they got 200 responses from that village that people were born again in China. So it's that's the kind of prayer I want. It reminded me of the time that you said to me, "I want to get your feet into the UN." I know we've told this story before, but we told it recently and some people had not heard it. So you want to tell that story?
Well, we were in New York City. We had, actually we were going to a ministry trip over to Ireland, and we got stuck in New York. The plane, basically, we didn't make the connection, and the next flight going out was not until the following day.
Weather in Atlanta delayed our flight, and we missed the Ireland flight, and it was God.
And it was God. We were able to basically meet with some lovely people, but one of the other things we were able to do is we were able to get over there to the UN, and I felt like that the Lord was saying, "Let's go over to the UN." So I got you over there, and I just wanted you to get your feet on the ground of the UN, because I know that.
You told me before that, John. You said, "What is the name? Boutros Ghali?" And I said, I think that's the UN. John said, "I've never heard that, but I heard it in the night." You say it, John.
Boutros Ghali.
And so we discovered that he was the head of the UN at that time. And you kept saying to me, "I want to get your feet into the UN." I kept thinking your feet are as good as my feet. But you were determined to do that. So we got on a bus and got there, or a cab.
And we got over there to the UN, and we went in, and we started walking around, and I just literally, I didn't care. I wasn't there to hold up a sign. I wasn't there to meet anybody. I literally just wanted your feet there. I wanted to displace with God's vessel. If I am the vessel of Christ, and Christ indwells me, where I put my feet, Christ dwells. And so I wanted...
And rules,
absolutely. So I wanted to get your feet in there. And at the time, it wasn't about getting my feet in there. It was about getting your feet in there. So I said, okay, that's what I'll do. So we went in, and we're wandering around, and we went into the main hall, and there, I don't even know how we got in there, because there was no tour. We didn't take a tour. We just started wandering around.
I remember part of it, John. We stopped at a restaurant that was called the Members Restaurant, and we asked the person, where do we eat? No, that's not.
It was the delegates' restaurant, delegates' dining room.
We stopped at the delegates' dining room, and John said, where can we eat? And they said, well, would you like to eat in here? And John said, well, we're not a delegate. And they said, well, come on in. You can eat with us this time. So we did go in and eat in the delegates' dining room. And we saw many famous people. And so then we went on about our way. And we went to the place where the huge meetings that you see on TV are. But I was a little bewildered by it. I just kept saying, well, this is what Abraham did. God said, put your feet on the land. And I think he said the same to Joshua. And so it had a biblical precedent. And I declared it as we went along. I'm putting my feet here for Jesus. So then we went on our trip. But here's what happened after we left. You want to tell it?
Well, between Boutros Boutros-Ghali and Kofi Annan, the exposure of the UN happened shortly thereafter, and
it was monetary exposure, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was fraud and stuff like that.
And didn't Boutros Boutros-Ghali resign?
And so did Kofi Annan.
Kofi Annan. So I want more of that, Lord. I want more ruling and reigning in your name over whatever.
That was a bit of an attack lamb kind of thing. That was a secret squirrel kind of mission, and we literally got in there and I don't remember exactly how all of it. This is a number of years ago, but I don't remember how it all laid out but I kept on hearing Boutros Boutros-Ghali, but I don't even remember if Boutros Boutros-Ghali was the head at that time or if Kofi Annan was the head, but it was like he was putting, I don't understand it. I don't have to understand it. That's the whole point. I knew that I had to get your feet in the UN.
I'm thinking, I hadn't thought of this for a while because it was several years back, but when we wanted to have a mission in Honduras, the missionaries found this farm that they wanted, that they felt was the Lord was going to give it to them. And they asked the owner, and the owner said, no, I'll never sell it. But when we arrived, I remember they put us in a truck, and we drove to the site of it, and we were going to just get out and stand. And I turned in the truck to put my foot on the ground, and the Lord said, this belongs to Jesus. And so when my foot hit the ground, it was declaring that this belonged to Jesus. Well, in a short time, the farm was going to be sold, and the owner called the missionaries and said, we're going to sell it. We're going to sell it only to you. So a miracle happened there.
It was like when you put your feet down on the earth in a particular place that he's telling you to, it's like he's proclaiming his lordship over that area, and that's what we've seen. And it's not like I can go stomp around anywhere I want to.
Right.
You have to follow the Spirit, and you have to go with the leading of the Spirit. But when He does lead you, the power's there, whether you see it or not.
Mm-hmm. And the way you got this property of 8 choice acres in the mountains was, this is what you wanted. This is what the Lord told you, and you would have settled for a whole lot less. And that's another story of kind of setting your feet in the right place for the Lord, and He will tell you the wrong place. And so the Lord arranged to let you buy this property, and on very fair terms and very good agreement. So the Lord let your feet touch this land and claim it for Him. And this has truly been a mountain where the Lord lives and manifests Himself. So.
It's odd. Everybody that I've ever told where we live, they say, oh, that's God's country. And I'm like going, you don't know how true that is.
We hope you've enjoyed the Shulamite podcast. For all the latest from Shulamite Ministries, please visit us at Shulamite.com, where you'll find Martha's daily devotions, posts from GetAlongWithGod.com, and the online library of all of Martha's writings. At Shulamite.com, downloading the free Shulamite app is easy, and livingchristianbooks.com is only a click away. Thank you for joining us on this journey to discover a God worth knowing.